I had just spent a few days in Austin visiting some friends. Since I live in Louisiana, it's basically a full-day drive. On my last day there, my old high school buddy Tom replied to one of my Instagram stories, asking when I was leaving. I told him I was heading out that day. He mentioned he lived about an hour outside of Austin, which happened to be on my way home. I hadn't seen Tom in years, so the idea of catching up sounded good. He invited me to stop by, and I agreed. I put his address into my GPS, and it showed about an hour and a half of driving. Tom and I had been close back in high school, but drifted apart after graduation. We still followed each other on social media, but hadn't had a real conversation in years. When I arrived, I noticed his house looked a little dated. It wasn't falling apart, just had an older charm. The wooden porch creaked under my steps, and when Tom opened the door, I caught a faint smell of aged wood, almost like a cabin tucked away in the woods. Tom greeted me warmly with a big hug, pulling me inside. Some friendships never lose their comfort, no matter how much time passes. The inside matched the outside, old but cozy. The furniture looked like it had been there since the 70s, and the hardwood floors let out a soft groan with every step. It felt very Texan in a nostalgic sort of way, like stepping back in time. We sat in his living room, sipping whiskey, chatting about life. It was around 5 p.m. One drink became 2, then 3, until I was pretty drunk. The alcohol gave everything a warm, hazy glow. The room felt smaller, cozier, but heavier too. Hours slipped by like minutes, and we were lost in conversation. Eventually, he asked the question I knew was coming. "You've got a long drive back. Why not crash here tonight?" He was right. I was in no shape to be driving. I asked if I could just crash on the couch, but he insisted I take the spare bedroom. That was fine with me. We ordered some Chinese food, ate, and then he showed me to the guest room down a short hallway. I was too drunk to really take in the details of the room. All I remember is that the air felt oddly still, like it hadn't been used in a long time. I collapsed onto the bed, completely drained. At some point during the night, I woke up. My mouth was dry, my head spinning. The room was dark, except for some moonlight slipping through the blinds. That's when I noticed something. In the far corner, hanging on the closet door, was a shape. At first, I thought it was a long black coat hanging on a rack, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized something felt off. The upper part looked broader, almost like shoulders, and the way it hung made it look more like a figure than just fabric. My heart began pounding. I didn't remember seeing that when I stumbled into bed, but I had been drunk, so maybe I overlooked it. I turned over, telling myself it was just a coat, but I couldn't resist looking again. It was still there. I squeezed my eyes shut, took a deep breath, and forced myself to sleep. I don't know how long I was out before I woke again, but this time it wasn't thirst that woke me. It was a sound, a faint, slow creak, like someone carefully stepping on old wooden floors. My eyes snapped open. The room was dimly lit with dawn creeping through the blinds. I turned to the corner and froze. The coat was gone. I sat up too quickly, my head spinning, adrenaline rushing through me. My heart pounded like a drum. I scanned the room. Nothing. Just an empty closet door. I threw the covers off and rushed into Tom's room. He was still out, cold, snoring from all the drinking. I shook him until he woke, confused and half asleep. "The coat!" I said frantically. "The one hanging in the guest room, on the closet door." Tom squinted, rubbing his eyes. "What coat?" he asked. "The black trench coat, man. It looked like someone was standing there." Tom sat up straighter, looking at me with more concern now. "I don't own a trench coat, and there's no coat rack in that room." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline, but he wasn't joking. "Come look," I said. He sighed, got up, and followed me. I pointed to the corner. "Right there! That's where it was!" Tom rubbed the back of his neck. He asked if maybe I'd been dreaming. I shook my head, my voice trembling. I know what I saw. It was there. Then it wasn't. We stood in silence, the room pressing in with its heavy stillness. Finally, Tom exhaled and suggested we search the house, just in case. We checked every room, every corner, every closet. Nothing. No coat, no intruder, no sign of anything out of place. Tom tried to convince me I might have been in some half-dream state, my brain mixing reality with imagination, and maybe he was right. I wanted to believe that, because the alternative was far worse. As soon as the sun was up, I gathered my stuff and left. I felt guilty leaving him alone, but I couldn't stay another night. The entire drive back to Louisiana, my mind kept replaying the moment I woke up to see that shadowy figure watching me, and the way it was just gone come morning. Maybe Tom played some cruel trick, but to this day, he swears he didn't. And deep down, I believe him, which leaves me with only one explanation. There was someone or something in that room with me that night, watching me sleep, and they left before the morning came.